Hey, this is Kurt's Boat Doctor out in this is going to be a consignment boat, 1993 alumiweld. Nice boat, actually. This is a way to buy them, especially like you say, being out here, the salmon run here come September. You don't need these big fancy boats. I mean, they're nice, but this has got a ton of room, good fish room, a good crabbing boat. You know, there's no paint on it. You can vinyl wrap it if you want to. But it's a heck of a boat for the price, because the motors is where it's at. If the hull doesn't leak, and this is a pretty dang clean boat, actually what's getting you down the water is that motor and the steering wheel and the control box. So there you go. Now the boat will lean, you'll notice a little bit, because it's a 5-foot bottom, but he also has his batteries over there and has that big, that heavier 15 horse on the passenger side. So sometimes that would offset if I'm sitting in here by myself, but in theory, you know, maybe if a guy wanted to, he could take that box, because I know why he put the kicker over there, the 15, because of the tiller handle. It ain't on top of that other motor as far as the handle and steering. So what I would do is either you could move that over there, or you could take that battery box and stuff and move it over to this side to counter the weight. Because now if you get another person over here sitting on top of that weight, you're gonna have, it's not much, but you're gonna have more of a lean. But if you put that over there, or just took the motor and put it over there, it's gonna counter the weight. And this little shield I was talking about, I want to see if I was, yep, it made a bigger glove box. These were just small little glove boxes that went into here, so he added that. But actually, that'd be nice to have another one of those made over there to cover the wires that are up in there. You don't need that area there anyway. So, because your knees hopefully ain't under there, or you'd hit the steering wheel anyway. So, see what I'm saying about leaning? So you could, again, let me see what he's got in here. Yeah, see, the batteries are clean on this side of the boat as well because of that. So that could have been mounted actually over there, and those batteries could have been shifted like over here, and that would even make a difference. And that would be the easy way to do it. Just move that, then move the batteries far over. Your primer bulbs are there, and see how I got it tied off here, so I don't have to get outside and untie it there and there. I can do it from right here. Anyway, so I normally don't do this, because like I say, this is a boat that's checkout. So that's my job, is to take the boat doctor, of course, is to take these boats out and check them out. Sometimes consignment boats are, sometimes there's nothing wrong with them, you know, which is nice, because I can get something wrong with new boats as well. But I normally don't do the video, because I like to check everything and then make my list. And as a matter of fact, I do have to write down, and did put 7 gallons in here. I don't think the fuel gauge works. So what I'm going to do is just trim it. I took that block out, but if that motor quit right there and you kept pushing that button and it ain't going nowhere, you forgot that block. Now here's a little tidbit too. If you listen to that, that's normal. But if you were up in this position, you turn it and it dropped just a little bit, like a lower tone, that means your battery juice is getting low. So what I would do then is just trim this thing down to where you hear a clunk there. That way that intake's in the water, so you're getting maximum water flow. Then make sure your safety lanyard's in, because if it ain't in, it'll just crank and will not start, and you will also hear a buzz. So if it won't start and you hear the buzz, you know you didn't put the safety lanyard in. So this lever you don't even use. That's for older carb motors, or 2-strokes. You don't even have to push in on the key on this, because it's EFI. So all you have to do is turn that, there, fired right up. So now I would trim it the rest of the way down, because if I would have kept going, see how lower that tone is? If that battery was weak and I trimmed it all the way down and I went to start it, it would go click, click, click if I had a low battery. Now I can steer the wheel and I'm looking at the water flow. You got good water flow, okay? Now fuel gauge, see how that fuel gauge ain't working? Horn works, and it's buried on the E. That's typically a power deal. This here is for your electronics, I imagine. Yep. Okay, this here is for your nav light or anchor light. Yep, that works. Yep, bilge pump works. And that's my clinic. I better answer that real quick just to see what's going on. And this is your wiper right here.
This is a message from
Oh, I gotta listen to what's going on. Oh, there it goes. So it was on the power switch. Huh, they didn't. 10 something. Now, hopefully we'll get that on my other answer machine. But anyway, so the fuel gauge now it's at a half a tank right there. So, but when it's normally buried on the end, you don't get anything. So I got all these switches off anyway. I'm going to shut this switch off. See, so he's got his power action. He ran off of this power to his fuel. You see how I can turn that on? See the fuel gauge going up? Now it's 3/4. And then that's what turned this on as well. Because if that ain't on, that doesn't come on, that also ignites your fuel gauge. So that does work. And that's again for your wipers. And I'll set some of this stuff up. Then what I do is I put it in gear. Use both I'm not too concerned about, but I just want to make sure the throttle cable, I go like this. And see, you got torque to the left, I seen on the wheel. But anyway, I do that just to make sure the throttle cable's hooked up, and then, you know, maybe it popped off or something like this, and then I shift it just to make sure the this neutral forward reverse slides hooked up right. Because if not, if I go forward and it don't go into gear, uh-oh, I can catch it now. So then what I do is then I go back and I'll shut this one off. I know I got good battery power, but now what I do is I look for avenues, because if there's a ship there, the rocks are there, and you get in between those. And say the wind was coming out of the south, which now it's going to the north, so it's going to push the boat up against here, so I don't have too much to worry about. But I want to look at avenues. If that thing happened to quit when I untied and pulled out and it would take me that way, I want to make sure that kicker motor is running, ready to go and warmed up. So anyway, I'm going to fire that up real quick, and then I look for another avenue. Like, okay, say maybe it's a fuel issue, that one didn't run. Now I'm looking, okay, what else can I do if something happens? No anchor, okay. So then what I do is, like, it's going this way right now out of the north. So when I test these, I'll go to the north, because that way if it dies, I can normally catch that current and come on back. And anyway, this arm here, you just pull that down, lift up on the motor, and just drop it, bring this down. Then you got a choke, you pull that out right there. And then what you can do is give it, like, put this in gear. But we'll go into gear. Sometimes you have to bump it. There. Huh, that's weird. See what happens? There. There, I got it into gear. Then I go give it like 7 pumps, bring it back to where this is lined up just beyond this dimple right here. Huh, see, it's doing it again. So there is something there. Now it's good. Yeah, it just hasn't been. I'll look, pop this. It is shifting, but it's, well, it was a little stiff. Now it's starting to free up. So again, bring it here. This is a friction for your throttle. That's your keel safety lanyard. Chokes out, a red light will come on. I pump the primer bulb. Tires light up, push it to the show. Let it warm up. No water coming out the water tank, so that's working. And if he wants to use it, he can just pull that off and water will come out of that anyway. No red light coming on, that's a good thing. So I let it warm up for about a minute at least before I take off. Fuel fills there, yeah, and it shows I got a full tank right now. And a lot of that there, if you notice, I came to the back of the boat and then it shows more fuel. That's because the fuel, here's your inspection cap to get to your sending unit. So when I'm back here, it's lifting the front of the boat up, which means the gas is going to the back of the tank, which is going to tell me I have more fuel than I got. So now if I come up here, once I get it running, I can show you, but you want the boat level, because then it levels off in the tank. See how many minutes I got on here? Ooh, I better go to part 2, or part 3 actually, on this 18-foot alumiweld.